to Wednesday Weekly Wisdom Guest Edition. And today I'm joined by the incredible Yewande, who I'm just about to add to the call. I can't wait for the call. I've added you to the call. Can you join? Is the link working? Is it working? Can you join? I think I see that you're...
Yeah, there we go. Do you know what? I wasn't sure if I was going live and then you were coming on my live or the other way around, but we figured it out. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for joining. I'm so excited to chat today. Do I believe you're on holiday? You've taken time out for this?
It's okay. It's always nice to hang out with you.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. That's amazing. Like, I think you're incredible. So I've got to first of all tell everyone how incredible you are. Like, first of all, I read that you weren't even going to do engineering. It was your mother. You were going to do like fashion design and architecture. And then you go and study your bachelor's in engineering. But not just engineering, engineering and appropriate technology, which we have to talk about in a bit. And then you do your MSc, but in innovation. So like you're an innovator. I want to know more about that because this is a completely new pathway. And then you're 15 years in the built environment. And boy, oh boy, have you done a lot in that time. I saw award after award after award. I'm not just slightly intimidated. I'm hella intimidated. Like young women engineering, you sit on the UK Innovation Forum. You're a visiting professor at Westminster University. Like, okay, first of all, we're going to have to talk. How do you even do all this stuff? And how did you get here? And like you have a normal life too, like you're human. I need to know everything. I need to know everything. I've been a bit obsessed in my prep for today. And like now, like, oh my God, I knew you were cool. I was like, oh my God.
You're too kind. Honestly, you're too kind. You're too kind. Well, do you know what? Yeah, so it is true. I was going to study architecture because that was my thing. Hi, I'm just saying hi to everybody. Hi, my face. Hi, Bimi. It was my thing for a very long time, and I was super interested in being able to create stuff, right? So being able to like just work with paper, just work with what was in my head, translate that to whatever it was I was working on. And engineering just seemed, engineering seemed a little less practical at the time. It looked and felt like it was this thing that happened, but I wasn't quite sure how it happened. But architecture, because I could see buildings around me and I could, I could interact with the idea that buildings were pretty much in shape and form as well. Hi, Kay, hello. Just made me think that that was the path for me. I spent a lot of time, in my childhood, just making house models of buildings that I thought would, be more comfortable living spaces for myself and my mom and my sister. And then just before I started to apply to universities, my mom came into my room and she was like, Yewande, why don't you consider engineering? And I'm like, oh, mom, gosh, for a long time, architecture has been the thing. And literally, I did it for her. I applied to 2 universities out of the 6 to study engineering and the other 4 to study architecture.
Wait, no, I think you've convinced me at once. I'm shocked. I feel like you're like sacrilegious now. Like you're telling me that you weren't even all in from day one. And now you're like vice president of the Institute of Engineering and Technology. What? Scandalous.
It took me a little while,
I'm shocked. So you were 4 architecture, only 2 engineering. You weren't even convinced at this point.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah, so I got a place at work to study engineering, design, and appropriate technology, and it pretty much was an engineering degree with a massive bias towards developing countries, and that for me made sense.
So is that the appropriate technology bit? Because I was researching and I was like, I've never seen this before.
Yes, exactly. So obviously, Nigerian born. I grew up in Nigeria, in Ibadan to be specific, and I really wanted to be able to apply whatever I was learning to my immediate environment. And so with engineering design, I just saw this possibility to really cut across lots of different industries,
Mm-hmm.
to to be able to work in transport, water, buildings. And honestly, what I didn't know at the time was it was the perfect foundation for sustainable engineering. It literally was the best degree I could have been on, to build myself up to being, I guess, a contributing factor or contributor in
Mm-hmm.
tangible way to the world of sustainability. So it worked out. Mom was right.
Yeah, so is that basically a multidisciplinary engineering degree with then the
Yeah.
sustainability focus all the way through?
Yeah. So a bit of manufacturing, a bit of water engineering, a bit of structural engineering, a bit of mechanical engineering, but really with a strong idea running through that whatever you design, you have to think about the materials that you select as part of the
Mm-hmm.
component parts. You have to think about the people who would maintain it and
Mm-hmm.
the availability of spare parts as such.
Okay.
You have to think about how people will adopt the technology and use the technology. You have to think about the ethos behind it as well. You have to think about people's well-being, and ensure that when you're designing something, you're designing for the people who you expect to use
Mm-hmm.
whatever aspect of that design is.
That's so cool. So I'm guessing by the end of the 3 years, you were convinced.
Oh yes, absolutely.
You were
Like
convinced.
literally, yeah. So it was 4 years in total with a year in industry, and
Ooh. Tell me
really
about
this
your year in industry. I'm always fascinated to hear
amazing.
about people's year in industry.
So I ended up working for Thames Water. So Thames, for everybody on this afternoon, Thames Water is a water supply company. They serve mostly the south of the country. So everything from clean water supply to drainage, and being able to take dirty water, wastewater from people's houses and sort it out. That's me really describing it in a pleasant way. But yeah, Thames Water serves London and the areas around London. I had the most amazing experience there as a work experience student. Like I had the best mentor ever, and I emailed him a few weeks ago. Actually, his name is Peter Lees. He taught me a lot. We spent a lot of time on site, wastewater treatment sites. I was right in the thick of the design from day one. So all of the skids, the treatment skids, working to learn how you'd use different engineering concepts to get water from not so clean to clean enough that people can actually drink it. So yeah, it was an amazing year. And actually what it did for me was it really started to help me understand what practical engineering is. Um, I'd kind of gone from, okay, this is the conceptual stuff I'm getting myself into. And a lot of it was still very theoretical in my head. But that year in industry took me on the journey from theory to practice. It just made engineering come alive in my experience. So it was really good. I really would recommend work experience to anybody who's thinking of an engineering degree. It makes so much
It
sense.
changes people's pathways quite a lot. But I know that you end up deviating so much to infrastructure. I mean, you've done infrastructure internationally. So you do a year in Thames Water. What makes you not go down the water route? And when you do your master's, not kind of consolidate that? What happens? You go kind of
Yeah,
in a different tangent.
yeah. Actually, it was a journey, and in every journey, there's always a bit of transition, right? You take different paths and you evolve. Actually, I think the word is more evolution, actually, because what I then did was I started off obviously, looking at big scale water,
Yeah.
right, and big projects actually, and then when I graduated, my first job was with Arab. I joined an environmental services team within Arab, and it was water in buildings, right?
Mm.
So public health, you know, water and innovation. So it was still very much, you know, around water, but it was for buildings, so it was just a little bit of what happened, down the line, pretty much, right? So,
Yeah.
and that made sense for me because it was a progression, right? I'd done the big stuff, the source stuff, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that the water was clean enough. I'd gotten some of that experience, and so what I was doing as my next step was what happened further down the line when water actually comes into people's homes or commercial buildings. And then I started to see how everything else connected
Mm.
um, into into a building's function, and the way we as individuals experience buildings. And that was the mechanical side. That was obviously air, good air quality,
Mm.
ventilation, which is more of the technical term that we use, and then obviously the electrical bit, and then seeing the water, the public health, the P, and the electrical and the plumbing all kind of come together was then the next step in terms of like my progress. And then the beautiful thing about engineering is that it is a universal language. It really translates to lots of different countries. It translates to different communities. It translates to different cultures. And so I just kind of found myself in this place where I had the freedom to use my core engineering, and apply my core engineering in lots of different parts of the world. And so the question was, why not? Why not? Like, why not travel to the Far East and learn how engineering happens, then apply the knowledge that you have there?
Mm.
Why not work in projects, across Africa and apply the knowledge that you have there and also learn? And so that's kind of how it happened. Yeah.
Because looking on the outside, I'm like, wait, what's going on here? But when you talk about it, you're clearly following your water theme and you're just expanding the projects and expanding to new arenas. So it's constant growth and evolution. I love that. I'm stealing that, the evolution of your career. I love that. I love that. And also, you kind of talk about ventilation a bit when we watched your recent screening of your film. And is that a new endeavor? Are we going to be talking more about you as a producer in the future, creating this stuff? I know that you've been on TV a bit, but now you're producing content to promote STEM. Is this the new evolution?
Yes, possibly. I think the thing about creativity is that it 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 wants to solve problems. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
creativity wants to apply itself to anything that it can and solve problems. And I I think about, the journey to
Mm.
here,
Mm.
and I think about my first TV appearance, you know, and how I got into it in the first instance. I mean, you would have your own story as well, but
I want to
I
hear that
literally,
story.
I was literally in the office a number of years ago, and um, I got an email from one of my colleagues who was friends with the producer, and they were looking for engineers to audition to present a television program for Channel 4. And it was literally all about the Titanic. We were going to tell the story of how the Titanic was built. And I kind of went, okay, I've watched the Titanic. I can roll with this. I can do this. It sounds like fun. But then as I started to kind of go through the audition process, I realized it was really about telling engineering stories, about
Mm.
telling the story of the lives of the men and women who worked
Mm.
extremely hard, who grafted, who worked day and night to create the beauty that then was the Titanic, right? And so I really at that point started to really get interested in the use of media to tell engineering stories in a
Mm.
compelling way, because we don't do that well enough as engineers. You know, we are like, okay, we've done what we've done.
We
Like we've
solved
just
the
designed
problem. Gold
exactly.
star.
And that's the, exactly like I've designed a 100-story building. Yes, I'm moving on to the next project. But actually, we need to be able to kind of tell people what we do in a
Yeah.
way that also helps to inspire the next generation. And so over the last 5 years, it's been something that's been in my head, because I'm like, you know what? It would be
Mm.
so amazing if I can use the experience that I have,
Mm.
you know, from just being part of, you know, productions and being part of TV
Mm.
production over the years, to tell stories in a way that young girls especially as well
Mm.
can see a connection. They can see themselves as engineers. Hence the hi Ma, hi Julie, hence the what you watched at the Science
Which
Museum a few weeks
was
ago. Thank you
amazing. And
very much.
cool engineers too. I
You.
think one of my favorite things was how approachable you made the engineers seem. Like
You.
normal girls living life, having fun, celebrating each other, celebrate Ella's MBE, which of course you have one too. Of course. I had to drop that in there. The club. I mean, it was incredible. It was so fun to watch. And I
Thank
couldn't
you.
help but watching the audience, because I mean, it was open to schools, and watching the
Yeah.
younger girls in the audience, and you can see that they're seeing themselves in that. And I thought, oh God, this is why you do this important stuff.
Yeah.
So can we
Yeah.
expect
Yeah.
more such projects
Yeah.
down the way?
Definitely. I've just seen Senando on as well. He was one of our directors, so he's definitely telling me more
He's
of
like,
it is
yes,
coming.
we got more.
Yes, yes. Yeah, definitely. And actually what we are hoping to do is really just go on tour with the first one,
Mm,
and then build from there, because we want to use it as a powerful medium to
mm,
encourage the next generation. We want to help young people see engineering the way we see them. It, you know, like the series has been inspired by my relationship with, you know, my friends, my engineering colleagues. So there was no word of a lie
mm,
in the entire production. You know, it literally, I like, you know, I can tell you so many stories of me and my girls, my engineering girls, just having a complete blast. You know, like whether we're working on a 100-story building in Shanghai, or we're working on, you know, a school project here in the UK, I have formed some incredible
mm.
relationships with women in engineering. So it's just something. We're going to go on tour. We're looking to just roll out a few more episodes as well later on this year. So if anybody is interested, please let me know. Like we're always looking for people to join the journey.
That's so
Hi, Yemi.
cool. That's so cool. I can't wait to see what comes next. And it was incredible. I kept thinking, oh, I wish I'd seen things like this, because there's an idea of what an engineer is. And to be fair, you are the most eclectic engineer. So to talk about it, you've got an academic thing going on as well. You're a visiting professor at Westminster University. You sit on a trustee at University of Warwick simultaneously. And you also sit on the UK, oh, someone's chatting to you in chat, at the UK Innovation. And you're sitting and kind of creating an idea where clean growth happens. So where do you think like we need to be focusing as engineers for the future? Because you've got all of you. You sit as a council member, as a trustee at university, as a professor, as an engineer, and then also now, not just as a broadcaster, as a producer. Where do you think we as engineers need to focus our energy? Because you've seen everything from your view. So where does that energy need to go?
So it's a great question. Honestly, I still ask myself that question. And I don't know if some part of it is me not being able to say no to some stuff, especially when I think, you know, my presence can potentially help
Mm,
with, you know, the objectives and the mission of the organization, and also
mm,
for me to learn as well, because it's a learning process. Like every single day,
yeah.
you know, is an opportunity to learn. So some of it might be just me being really bad at saying no, but actually I think engineers, we have a bit of a responsibility, right? There are a
Mm.
lot of conversations around innovation, you know, building sustainable environments, the built environment, fighting climate change. And there's one thing I know: we can't achieve all that we need to achieve just by being engineers alone. So we need to be engineers, we need to be advocates, we need to
Mm.
others understand what we understand.
Mm.
We need to be within the right circles to be able to
Mm.
understand what the challenges are,
Mm.
so that we are designing appropriate responses, designing appropriate solutions in the products and the services that we have on offer. And for me, those right circles are academia, because that's where all the amazing thinking happens, right?
Mm.
My jam is innovation. So I really want to be right at the heart of
Mm.
where all those incredible ideas are, starting to surface, because people are spending time researching all those different concepts that relates to
Mm.
sustainable development. And so, yes, and then decision making
Mm.
leadership is extremely important.
Yeah.
If you can't see what you know needs to be, you sometimes have to step into that
You
role
don't know.
of leadership.
Mm.
And I say this with all humility, because it's really then a question of perspective. If
Mm.
I'm able to contribute something that brings a different perspective, right, that then influences to a certain extent the overall response,
Mm.
it kind of works for the benefit of everybody,
Oh, it's an
you know.
interesting way of
So,
thinking about impact, isn't it?
mm-hmm.
Just,
Because
just run that by again, because I feel like that was said so quickly, but actually really impactful.
well, I'll try to remember what it is, but the message in that is my perspective based on my unique background
Mm.
really helps in the overall solutions that groups of people come up with, right? And it's so important, right? It's important that we have the right representation as well. There are things in my experience that would be different to the next person's experience, and both of our experiences count. But if we're going to
Mm.
come up with an efficient, optimized solution, we
Mm-hmm.
all need for us to be in that conversation. So there are just all these different things that I have in my head, that I feel actually are not separate to the engineering mission.
Mm.
They
They're the
work.
same. So for you, it's the same to sit in academia and as a trustee and as VP of the IET. You've got the
Yeah,
same underlying mission of going through it all,
yeah,
solving those same problems.
yeah, yeah. And Ayo, it's crazy, right? Because when I'm sat, in a board meeting, right,
Mm.
I'm thinking about the conversations I've had with the next generation. I'm thinking about what the next generation would require from an institution to
Mm.
become the best versions of themselves, to
Mm.
become the best contributors to the engineering industry, right? And so it all connects. You're taking from one end, listening, synthesizing, absorbing, and ensuring that it's landing in the right place at the right time.
I love that. But what I'm really hearing is someone who takes radical responsibility above what I think is expected. Sure, be an engineer, but you're asking to be an engineer plus. You're going to asking to be an engineer. That's exactly right. Someone's put it in the chat. It's that purpose. It's an engineer with purpose, on purpose, living in a purpose, and doing it through everything you're doing. And I initially I was really interested in having this conversation because I was like, all the threads seem separate, but they're not separate at all. It's like that non-linear arena that you're in, that you're pulling and cross-pollinating, and actually that's helping you gestate the best solution. I
Yeah. And
you're taking an engineering approach to everything. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So
thank
obviously
you.
you'll recently
Just say
become
hi to
VP.
Yewande. That was really nice. Thanks, Yewande. Thank
Such
you.
a lovely message. So you recently become the VP for the IET, and obviously I know this means that we're talking presidential roles in the future, right?
Oh, you reckon?
And what do you mean you reckon? I read your CV. I, like, do you have
Oh, dear.
ambitions to that? Do you already have a bit of a strategy of what you want to achieve? Because so many people are watching you, role model for so many people, and of course you're in the highest echelons doing all the things. Do you know what you want next? Do you have like your eye on certain things and what you want to achieve specifically, especially in that arena? Because I feel like that's an arena where, first of all, then presidents, vice presidents of professional technological institutions like the IET or ICE or IMECE that are women, let alone we're Nigerian. Like, I mean, you're breaking barriers, but what do you want to do with it more than that as well? More than the representation that you already provided fantastically, by the way.
Thank you so much. I have a lot of faith in the engineering industry. You know, I literally I believe in the cause. I believe in the work that a lot of the institutions are doing. And so a lot of what I'm hopeful for is the continuity of some of the good work. But then also, right, you know, what I would say I am aspiring to is really ensuring that our industry is fit for purpose. It's fit for purpose for the likes of yourselves and myself and every single incredible engineer that I come across, whether they're here in the UK or, you know, on the other side of the world, you know, 30,000 miles away or whatever. I think personally, the way I've always kind of done things is to go actually, what is working and what is working super well, and how can we just the word I'm looking for now is expanding those activities. How can we scale them, right? And then really understanding also what the barriers to success are and breaking down those walls wherever we can. Because the one thing that I've realized is that you can't build for progress when you've got crumbling walls, when you've got aspects that are, you know, decaying or deteriorating, you know, all those barriers to progress, you need to uproot them, right? And so the one thing I am keen to be able to do is to say, actually, as an industry, can we be honest and truly intentional about identifying those things that are pulling us back? Let's uproot them and let's replace them with the great foundation that is going to take us to where we absolutely need to be going to solve our climate challenges, to make our industry more inclusive, to be able to work alongside technology and use that for engineering benefit and vice versa, and to make sure that the next generation, that people like my kids, right, can feel that the industry is right for them and a place for them.
That was amazing. If that's what you're gonna do, you've got an accolade. I'm following you. I'm accolade team all day, every day. That's incredible, and it's such an incredible vision. And I think also something you say, or I've seen you say about basically nothing being impossible. You have this theme of the impossible just not really existing to you, and I guess you can see that in what you've achieved. But I guess the key thing that I'm really wanting to understand is what's actually motivating you from here. Because you've done hard things, difficult things, big challenges, travel around the world, worked on mega projects. All of these are challenging. So where does this heart of like impossibility not even being in your vocabulary, how does that sit? How did that come to be?
Oh gosh. Okay, so there's also something I say, which is to whom much is given, much is expected,
Mm.
right? And to whom much is given, much is expected. And I feel like I'm so grateful for all the incredible opportunities I've been given,
Mhm.
because I honestly do not take them for granted. I have had the most incredible mentors. People have opened doors where like lots of other people had shut those same doors, like, in my face. And so I feel, whilst it's not a burden all the time, I feel it is an opportunity for me to express some of my gratitude, for the amazing opportunities that I have.
Mhm.
That's like 10% of it, right? The other bit is when you have seen what is possible, you're like, there's so much more that can happen then. You know, it's like a drug. Like, it keeps you wanting more.
Mm.
I don't think there's anything bad in wanting more for progress. You
No.
know, it, I sometimes, and actually, a lot of times I have to kind of go, actually, now it's time for you to rest because your brain is not
Mhm.
just stopping, and it's 2 a.m., it's 3 a.m. Actually, that happens a lot of times, and I'm working on it at the moment. I really am
We're
working
going to
on
talk about that. I'm always
it.
curious about people who are so incredible and actually the costing, because everything has cost. We don't talk about it, and I want to kind of normalize talking about it.
Yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, so I'm like losing sleep because I'm like, oh my goodness, there's this incredible idea and I really want to be able to progress this idea. And I really want to get to a point where I know that the idea has been expressed, and then I get to that point and I'm thinking, okay, who can I work with on this idea? What's the next step? And it just carries on in this vicious, like cycle. Anyways, but I'm working on it. But then when you have seen what is possible,
Mhm.
you really want to be able to carry on in that possibility.
Mhm.
Possibility is an extremely um, liberating concept because you are able to, you know, see things through a lens
Mhm.
that then allows you visualize your destination. Does that make sense? Right? So you see you see things through this lens that just then allows you to see where you actually want to be getting to, right? And you
Yeah.
see yourself in that point, in that, at that destination,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh yeah,
So
the
that's
lens
what
told me I
gets
can
you so
get there.
excited. You can see
Yeah,
it. You can taste it. It's so close to you
yeah,
in this
it's
vision
so
that you have.
close. Exactly. And the way I work is, you know, I visualize like the end point of the destination. Like that happens within the first phase, right? And then the rest of it is just working super, super hard to go on the journey because I've seen what, it could potentially look like. So with the series, for example, you would not believe I started off with a 75-page script. Yeah, that was it. Like I worked like, yeah, I worked super late, like lots of nights, and wrote a 75-page document. And I was like, yes. And then everything else was working back from that to work out how it would come together. So the idea that something is possible is kind of what keeps me going.
You started with the script. You knew exactly what the end. Genuinely, I think this is probably the most exciting tip. I love people sharing wisdoms, but I feel like we have to stop there for a second because you literally there must be some sort of manifestation or kind of like vision boarding or some. There's a coaching tool right here, going right to the end, seeing it, almost having the thing there and saying, okay, this is what I'm working towards. I mean, that's giving you so much motivation, because I'm guessing it wasn't like a short journey from the writing of the script to the actual screening that we watched at the museum not that long ago. I'm sure the journey was much longer than a couple of nights. Like, it must have been significant. So I just want to stress that's an amazing tip that maybe we should all be doing, that, making sure we have the end in our eye, you know, so now that vision that you have, that you can see all the way through, that clearly is motivating you still, even at this point, to say yes to everything and do everything.
And yes, don't forget to celebrate along the way as well, because I think the cool thing about what is happening in the engineering industry now is that we're actually living in the moment of change. You know, I was having a conversation with the amazing Hayatin, who's the CEO of the Royal Academy, and I was like, actually, if we just stop, the change is actually happening now. Like, we're actually experiencing the change, and sometimes the pressure is on to, you know, to carry on working and not stop, and like just, but actually we can just rest sometimes in the moments, because and appreciate the change that's actually happening as well.
That's incredible.
I can see my very good friend, she's saying 75 pages, come on. I was like, yeah.
Well, I think one of the things I've learned from you so far is workaholic syndrome. So we have to talk about it, because balancing all the various strands you're doing, how do you find any bit of human balance? And how do you stay a human being in all this? Because some of the most incredible people I look up to, the practicalities, I'm like, how do you get that balance, that sense of I'm human in all this, in all these great achievements, which are awesome?
Very good question. So I've just so it's been holiday like a week and a half now, which is good. Yeah, take holidays.
I'm interrupting your beautiful holiday, which I'm seeing on Instagram, to talk to me, so I so appreciate.
So as you can see, I'm still working on this, but
yes,
I'm making a super conscious effort to spend more time with my kids as well. And just like, the days are long, but the years are short. So I'm trying my very best, and it's not a chore at all. It's just, you know, just making the decision actually to make time and enjoy the time, and not be thinking about that thing that I need to be doing. I still hate, like, you know, washing the dishes and tidying up, because I think it's such a waste of time. Laundry is terrible.
Solve it. You're like the most broad stroke engineer and innovator. Solve it. Get yourself a little robot that does it all. Why have you not done that already?
That is true, actually.
What person could do that based on your background? It's like straight up engineer that solution.
Exactly. That's what I need to do, actually. Yes.
Then you free yourself. That's the project you take on that frees your time.
Thank you. Yeah, so I would say balance is find, you know, family, friends, spend good quality time with them, travel the world as well. What I'm starting to do is, like, I'm starting to block out, you know, times in my diary, and I send to my PA. I'm doing something for myself. You know, these 2 days, I'm not always successful at doing that, but at least I'm hoping that by being a little bit more intentional now, I can kind of build that skill. And everything is about building the skill in something, right? So, but you build the skill in finding balance in your life, right?
And it's just, engineer would say that, you know that, right?
Just, you like, the more you use that, like, you know, life balance, like, muscle, like, the better you get at it, right? You know what I mean? So I'm trying my very best to just build that into my everyday as well. Hi, Kunle. Yeah, so I'm really trying my very best to just build that skill, just to find time to chill, relax. I'm taking time off a lot over the summer as well. So yes,
That's so cool.
fingers crossed.
I'm fingers and crossing that you can do this, because there's so many exciting things you have in the pipeline, and we need you to be well in all ways to make sure you can do it. The world needs you to be thriving so that we can enjoy the fruits of your labor. So please thrive for us. We
Will
need
do.
you.
Will do. Will do. Will do.
But
Thank you.
I have to get at least 3 wisdoms that you share with my audience and everyone that's listening. So many people are keen to hear so much from you. So what are the 3 bits of wisdom that you would share to someone? You know, let's say that just like when your mother told you engineering and gave you advice, what would be that advice you give to someone embarking on a journey like this?
So I would say creativity is a huge the word I'm looking for is mechanism for enjoying a long and purposeful career in engineering. You know, I'd say use creativity to find your purpose in engineering. That way you can have many varied different experiences within engineering that kind of keep you interested. You can see the multi-applicability of your core skills because you're applying them in lots of different ways. So I'd say that definitely that. I would say you don't have to be one thing, you know. You can be an engineer, you can be a musician as well, you can be a fashion designer, like all 3 of those in one. It's definitely the thing that I preach to people, because it just means that you are getting your inspiration from lots of different places. And that inspiration is food for your soul. Like, honestly, being able to draw and express your creativity through very, very, very different things, but still like expressive things, is just an amazing way to feed your soul. And my 3rd bit of advice would be have fun. Be clear in your message and your purpose, be consistent, but make sure you have fun along the way. A lot of people come to me and say, oh, you know, I really want to fight for diversity and inclusion in engineering. And I'm like, you know what? Are you having fun? That's the first question I ask them. And I'm like, have fun first, and then add on the diversity piece, because you don't want to be in this, you don't want to associate the industry with misery. You know, enjoy your learning, enjoy the projects that you work on, and then take on the challenge of representation. And then every day you go into work, you know, you are fueled by the fun that you are having in the industry. So those would be my 3 things.
OMG. Amazing. I love that creativity. I love that you don't have to be more, you can be everything, you can be anything you want, and use that to get all the creative juices going and feed your soul. But I think it's the final one that really takes it home for me. It's starting from fun. I love that you say mission and purpose are so important, but actually starting from fueling it from fun and just enjoying yourself, that I can get behind. I back that all the way. I love it. This has been such a fun conversation. I knew it was going to be fun.
Oh, I know. Gosh, I knew it was going to be fun because you are fun. I love your energy as well. It's just amazing. And I can't wait to be able to like hang out with you and work on projects with you as well. It's so amazing.
Do it.
I've been cheering you on, like, you know, from the side
I've been
for so long now.
I love it when, like, that's one of the best things. You said it very early on, talking about your engineering experience, like your sisterhood with other amazing engineers. You're working on projects here and everywhere because you just seem to work everywhere, you know, and that seems so cool. It's like that sisterhood. And I think sisterhood is also virtual now, where we get to watch each other win and actually be like, yes, go home. and keep on and keep looking after yourself while winning. And I love that. I love the community that we created. And thank you for joining this community today. And I can't wait to join your community and do some cool things with you in the future. I'm so excited.
Yes, definitely. By God's grace, yes, definitely. Oh, lovely.
Thank you.
Well,
Now, I'll go enjoy the rest of your holiday. I sort of feel too guilty for deviating.
It's been part of my holiday as well. It's fine. All good.
I think
I was just
it's fun. It's fun, right?
I was just going to do a really, really quick announcement,
yes,
if you don't mind.
Of course.
So there's an event next week on Tuesday, the 1st of August. It's called Reflect. If anybody is in the London area, it's suited for between 16 and 25-year-olds, but please feel free, you know, to check on the website to see if you can come. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be food, music, great vibes, engineering, technology, some great speakers as well. Please check it out. Now I haven't got the website, but please check out the RS Grassroots website or Instagram, or check out my Instagram as well. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for that shout out. I'll tag it and include it in the caption of the conversation. I'll tweet it and share it as well so people can see that. August 1st. You said that was food, so.
Yes, exactly. In London as well. So
I
yes,
know.
London,
You didn't really have to say much more than that. Like, I got free food. And RS are always doing cool stuff, so definitely cool. I'm so excited. They do a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, nice to see you. I'll see you. I can see we're going to be there. Right?
There we go. We've already got these from the chat. Thank you so much again for your time. It's been incredible. Let's do some more fun things together. And I like that. Keep starting with the fun. I'm going with that last one. I'm just doing that. Full on send on the fun. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ayo. Take care.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.